Cemetery of the Alleghenies in Washington County, PA.
How
Just
wonderful.
wanted to read that too.
Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you, Bill Balabanow, for joining us today and sharing just a little bit of your story. Would love to have you back on sometime.
I'll be here. Thank you.
Very good. Very good. And I want to get out to Lancaster, your neck of the woods, and maybe do a program sometime too. So maybe I'll meet you in person.
Well, I hope so too. Also, I also wish you a meeting.
That's great. Thank you, Bill. Hey, I invited Dick Westerhoff to come and talk a little bit about this odd plane that I find so interesting. And we'll talk about it in a bit, but I do want to remind people this is the VBC Happy Hour. This is the Veterans Breakfast Club. We're a nonprofit based in Pittsburgh that holds veteran storytelling events in person and online. We also publish a magazine, a quarterly magazine. We're getting our fall issue out together now. We send this out to about 8,500 households. If you don't get it, it's because we don't have your address. Let us know your address. We'll put it in the mail to you, and we send it free of charge. So please do let us know. Also, we'd like to have a survey of every program, what worked, what didn't work, how we can improve. I'm going to put the link to the survey here in the chat. And if you would take it, it would take 2.5 minutes. It really helps. And if you're taking it and you have a suggestion for a kind of a program or how we might do our programs a little bit better, you can let us know that too. We've gotten hundreds of responses since we began doing the survey, and they've really, really helped. We've changed up what we do because of what we hear in the survey. So if you have a moment, please do share it. Scott, is your hand up again? Let me see here.
Yeah, it is just a very quick thing. And it doesn't have anything to do with the military or veterans this time, but I just dug out a photo for Patty. She was talking about her Chihuahua before. My wife and I happen to have 5 Chihuahuas right now, so I thought she might like to see this picture.
Oh, here, you need to be able to share.
Or I just sent it to you, so you can. You
sent it to me. Oh,
yeah.
God. Oh, I didn't get it. It's in the chat.
Yeah, let me make sure.
I did not get it. Here, let me make you co-host so you could share.
Okay, let me
It's
find
extremely rare. We don't let just anybody become co-host. You're going to take over and boot me out and take over the whole operation.
I promise I will do a very good, quick job of it. Let me make sure I got the photo. Is still handy here. Having 5 Chihuahuas, I should preface this by saying, is not easy. There are occasional complications that come into but here is the picture. That's 45 pounds a dog right there.
Oh my God.
Getting them all to sit like this for the picture was an ordeal. It took quite a long time to get this done.
I love it. I love it, Scott. Thank you for that. That's great.
You're welcome. You can take control away now.
All right. Very good. Yeah. That's fantastic. I'm a dog lover, so I think that's a great thing. I will put the survey information here in the chat, but I want to go to Dick Westerhoff because we've had a little ongoing conversation, Dick and I. Dick is a soft-spoken man. He is is he gone? Is he gone? Do you see him, Sean?
I do not.
Oh, he may have dropped off. Bummer. Oh, no, there he is. There he is. I see him. Dick is one of these Air Force fighter pilot types, soft-spoken, no ego, easygoing. And I actually, that is, Dick, why the reason I'm saying this is, I guess you don't strike me as like a fighter pilot type. I don't even know what a fighter pilot type is, but I imagine them as being, pretty, what's a polite way of putting it, Sean? Pretty, big man on campus.
Yeah.
But that's not you, Dick.
No, I've had other people say that.
All right. Well, let's get right to it. The reason that I have something I find interesting about you and your service is this plane that you flew, which is the F-104. It didn't seem to last very long. It's very distinctive looking. It was called a missile with a man in it. And my understanding is it was the first operational military plane to fly Mach 2. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
And you flew one of these things.
I started to fly it. As you said, it was kind of short-lived. So, well, in the U.S., it was short-lived. It went on to have quite a long life with the foreign places like Germany, Italy, Pakistan. A lot of the foreign countries kept the plane up until I think some of them maybe the 80s or even maybe more. But before I start on that, I want to thank you, Todd. This was a very eclectic program tonight. I really appreciate it. I learned a lot of things about aspects of the military that I just wasn't familiar with.
Oh, neat. Thank you.
This.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Dick. You know, this airplane is distinctive in several ways. You see, it's got a tall tail here, single engine, very short wings,
7 feet 9 inches.
very pointy nose, like it could gore you if you weren't careful. Very thin fuselage, of course. Here's another image of it. And what got my attention, Dick, when I first started, you happened to mention, hey, when I flew an F-104, the ejection seat was out the bottom.
That's right. Yes.
And I had never heard of that. And so I wanted to look it up, and I did, and that took me down the rabbit hole of the F-104. Tell us why the ejection seat was out the bottom. That doesn't sound like a good thing to do.
Well, if you go back to the picture of the plane itself, you can see that the tail is high and the horizontal stabilizer is up at the top. And so on ejection, you have to get over that tail, obviously. And the original, well, not the original, actually the original ejection seats that the Germans were working on, some of them worked with air pressure and springs and that kind of thing. But with the U.S., they were basically an artillery shell. And so you got just one bang of an impulse. And they felt that in order to make sure that you cleared the tail with a 104, because it was so high, they would have to use a larger shell, which was not good for your back. I mean, even the conventional one was not great on your back. So that's why they went to the downward ejection. But the downward ejection created additional problems. First of all, when you're going down like that, as you can see in the seat there, by the way, I can tell this is a test plane here, because I'll get into that later. But anyway, your legs would be thrown up and your arms fly out. So in this early version, you can see there are kind of clips around the pilot's ankles. But I flew the 104 A's and B's, which was for the Air Defense Command. It was an air defense interceptor. And instead of those clips around the ankles, they were cables with a ball on the end, and you had stirrups on your boots. And yeah, there they are. And when you got in the plane, you stepped on that ball, and then you could extend your feet out to the rudders. But upon ejection, you pulled the handle, these cartridges were fired, which would reel your feet in and hold them tight up against the seat. And 21 different steps had to go correctly to all work to make sure that you made a successful ejection. So after you got out of the, cleared the airplane, and the cartridge would fire to open your belt, and additional cartridges would fire to cut the cables so that you could clear the seat.
Oh my. And there were test pilots who were killed ejecting out the back, out the bottom, because they were flying too low and ejected them right into the ground, I would assume.
Well, yes, Ivan Kinchlow was one.
Yeah.
He was a famous test pilot. And well, that's another thing. There were so many things that were unique about this airplane. Another one being that the engine had an adjustable nozzle, and at the end, and if the one of the malfunctions was that nozzle would open on takeoff, you lost thrust. I think that's what happened to Kinchlow. Anyway, when you're low like that, he tried to roll the plane over so that it would eject them actually upward, upside down, but up.
Yeah.
And that's not a good thing, because as you can see with those short wings like that, it just dished out and he went in. What they told us to do was, if you had enough energy, any energy at all, just pull the nose up, get the nose up as high as you could so that you got the underbelly, facing as high as you could go.
Right.
But it still wasn't, it wasn't a real successful operation.
I think Sean and I at one point last year were looking into ejection seats for some reason. We were having a conversation and reading some stuff online together on Zoom like this. And we were just amazed, like, oh my gosh. I mean, you might as well take your chances just jumping out of the plane. I mean, those ejection seats are really nothing to play with. And I think one statistic that we saw was something like this was a good ejection seat because he only had a 1 in 3 chance of, breaking your back with it.
Well, you wouldn't stand a chance, though, just bailing out of that because of the high tail.
So you wore these. I'm sorry.
We talked before about the short wings. They were also very thin, so there was the landing gear didn't go into the wings; it went into the fuselage. There's no fuel tanks in the wings, and that leading edge was very sharp. So when they were on the ground, they put scabbards on the leading edge. And it was for protection of the crew, but also you don't want to dent that, because at high speeds, any distortion in there would cause friction.
How about that? So you must have been pretty hot stuff walking around like cowboys at the air base with these spurs on your boots.
Oh yeah, that was hot stuff to walk in these offices with stirrups on.
Everybody knew who you were, that's for sure.
And in addition to that, although we didn't wear them very often, you had a partial pressure suit, because this plane had a service ceiling of 70,000 feet, and above 50,000 feet, you need a pressure suit. But we didn't wear one like you see the astronauts wearing. The helmet was kind of like what the astronauts wear, but the suit was just a tight kind of a canvas suit. And then you had straps going across your chest and on your arms and your legs. And those straps wrapped around a tube on the outside of your arm and on the outside of your leg. And they used air pressure, bleed air from the compressor would blow up and make those tubes expand, and that would pull the straps tight, so that that's what they use to keep your blood in your body, because above 50,000 feet, blood boils.
About 50,000 feet, blood boils.
Well, that's if you're out of the airplane. When you're in the airplane's pressure. But if you had to bail out, that sounds
like a discovery you could only learn the very hard way. Oh my gosh, how gruesome! Yeah, how gruesome! Oh my, what's the highest you ever went in a F-104 any plane?
Well, remember I told you I went to 55,000 in a 102 that night. On alert.
Right.
Well, actually, I didn't get too far. I didn't get all the way through the checkout program in the 104, because the 104's A's and B's were the ones that had the downward ejection. The C's and beyond, they had upward ejection, because they develop a better seat. So the first squadron to get 104 A's and B's was out in California, and that was in like February '58. And I got into, then I was at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio, and there was one other squadron in Massachusetts. And I got there out of pilot training in October 1959. And by the end of that year, they decided this wasn't a good deal. And besides, the F-101 aircraft, B's and C's were coming on, and that was a better interceptor. So they turned the Air Defense 104s over to the Air National Guard just about the end of '60. So we sat around the officers club at Wright-Pat playing dice, drinking beer for a couple months till we got another assignment. And I just went down the road to Columbus to Lockbourne Air Force Base. But you said that you noticed that the nose was very pointy.
Yes.
That was another unique thing. This had the radar system had a radar sensor and also infrared, and it didn't sweep back and forth like a normal radar would sweep vertical line left and right. It was a spiral search. So it spun around and for about a 90-degree cone. And when you got the armament on this was a Gatling gun and sidewinders. And for the sidewinders, a heat seeker, you would come up behind the aircraft with the radar sensor, with the infrared sensor. You'd start to get a red circle. In the circle, what you want to do is point the nose of the aircraft so that you fill that circle. It's a complete circle, which means you're then lined up with the tailpipe of the enemy plane. And that's, that's the way you zeroed into fire.
That's the reason for the nose.
Yeah, that's
Dick,
why it's pointed, yeah.
Dick, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of an education on this unusual fighter plane, the F-104, something I knew very little about. Chris Perello.
And this is a little bit of trivia, but aside from being a beautiful plane in that picture there, I remember the F-104 from the movie Failsafe. Did anybody see that movie, Failsafe? F-104, when an accidental launch of the B-58 bombers is sent to Moscow, they sent F-104s out of Alaska to chase them and shoot them down, but they could not catch them. And from SAC, they're watching them on radar, and they sent them until they ran out of fuel. And as each one of them ran out of fuel, they disappeared from the radar screen. And it was explained that they were falling like a stone into the Arctic Ocean. And the commanding general did not even dispatch air-sea rescue because he was told the pilots would be dead in 30 seconds from the cold. And I remember as a kid, just being like fascinated by that and just incredulous that they didn't go save these guys. But that was a scene in the movie that made the F-104 a little famous. But that's just a little trivia.
Greg Yost in the chat here. I don't know if it's a statement or a question. It ends with a question mark, but it sounds more like a statement. The F-104 was more of an interceptor than a dogfighter, designed to shoot down enemy Soviet bombers, then dogfight with fighters, right? So it is a question. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. More of an interceptor than a dog.
The Russian bombers could get up above 50,000 feet. That's why the plane was designed to go up into that range. Yeah.
Right. Thank you very much, Dick. I appreciate it. I'm looking at the clock. We have a few minutes left. I'm wondering if anybody wants to has something to share, maybe with pertaining to Patriot Day or to the anniversary of September 11th, or to service since September 11th. Is that Jerry Augustine on here? Is that you, Jerry? No? Okay, here. If somebody has a hand raised. Oh, no, that's just clapping. Bob Flage, thank you for the clapping. Ron Hathaway, good to see you. Thank you for joining us from New Jersey. I'll be seeing you in person soon. Ron is a Marine, career Marine major who's a photographer, correct, Ron? Photographer in the Marine Corps?
Correct. I was a combat photographer when I first joined the Marine Corps, and I was in Vietnam as a combat photographer. Once I left Vietnam, I went to school at Syracuse University, all the advanced courses, and eventually became a warrant officer. And then I exceeded the rank of major, and I was in charge of the entire Marine Corps combat camera and photojournalism, Marine Corps wide.
And how many years did you serve?
33 years, 4 months, 13 days.
33 years, 4 months, 13 days. And
Yeah.
you started at the bottom, right? I mean, as private all the way up.
That's correct. Yeah.
You did it the hard way. Oh boy. And we're going to have you on a program to share, I think, some of the photos that you took and certainly to talk about the rest of your career.
Sure. Mhm.
All right. And I'll be seeing you in October when we do a breakfast in Bordentown, New Jersey.
Copy that.
Very good. Thank you very much, Ron. Thank you for joining us. Who else? Anyone else here?
Yes, sir.
Hey, how are you, Bob?
I'm good. I'm sorry I missed your special on Thursday. I was at a veterans event in Tallahassee, Florida. When I came back from Vietnam, I re-enrolled at Florida State. I was a junior when I enrolled in the Army, ended up in Vietnam. However, they now have what is a program called the Veterans Alliance, which is a community that they've established to become the most friendly university, veteran-friendly university. And I attended the event, which was the welcoming back of previous enrolled in veterans that are currently enrolled and new veterans. And it's a wonderful community that just gives them, a sense of being there. Like when I came back, it was just myself. Whereas these guys, really have a community developed that they support each other. The school really goes out of its way to give them first choice as far as selecting classes. When I transferred there as a junior before I went in the Army, I enrolled and selected classes after the incoming freshmen. So this program is just remarkable. It's run by a retired Air Force pilot, Billy Francis, and these guys. When I say it's the friendliest, they strive to be the friendliest veterans program. They have an 86% graduation rate of people there 4 years.
Isn't that impressive? I mean, we talked when I was talking to Kenneth Boyd that what you went through is not being experienced now by the, young men and women who served and who are now going to college. It's a really, from what I understand, a very lonely experience separating from the military or coming home from war. And then to be thrown in with people who just seem so much younger than you are in so many ways. Man, that must have been hard to go back to school, Bob.
Well, I was 27 when I re-enrolled. It was funny. Well, I won't say it's funny. The gentleman I had to talk to about being re-enrolled was my chemistry 350 instructor. And I transferred from a junior college. And the first day in class, I was appalled that the class was bigger than my graduation class from the junior college. And like I say, I had to. My grades weren't all that good, so that's why I had to talk to this doctor. He was in charge of readmissions, and at first he after a nice heart-to-heart talk, he said, "Yeah, I'll let you back in. I'm going to give you a quarter to get your grades back." And we were on trimester before when I was there, and all of a sudden he looks at my records and he says, "Whoa, I'm going to give you a whole year to get your grades back, 4 quarters." And I was on the dean's list all 4 quarters to pay him back, but he was my veteran center when I came back.
Oh, yeah, a one-man veteran center.
Yes,
It's amazing.
the thing that really helped me was I had a roommate that was the youngest of 3 brothers that I went to high school with. So, it wasn't like, I was just out there in the, in the
Yeah.
wilderness with nobody to relate to or whatever. But like I said, these guys, it's a remarkable. They've got a veteran student association that connects with the regular student association. So there's not 2 of
Yeah.
them going, competing with each other. But it's really a wonderful organization.
And that's Florida State and Tallahassee.
Yes, sir.
Thank you
Florida
for that.
State University, Seminoles.
Yes, thank you for that update. Wonderful. So interesting. And Bob, the other Bob, how are you?
I'm out of the hospital.
Very good. Yeah, last time we saw you, you were in a dressing gown with some clothes on top of it, and you were in a hospital, and we were talking to you about your service in Vietnam and how you've gone back and helping the Vietnamese to locate mass graves for them to recover remains of VC and NVA, but also, of course, tracking down remains of American service members. And on that program, when you were on, it was just last week, I think, or was it 2 weeks ago? Steve Foreman, who was on our trip to Vietnam in 2018, just kind of casually mentioned, hey, yeah, I was in a battle 50 miles northwest of Saigon, and I remember a very large mass grave. And since then, you and Steve have been going back and forth, really trying to locate. This is a big one, maybe.
It is. From what Steve had mentioned in the battle, the number comes up to about 500. 1 or 2 graves. The assumption is right now 1 grave based on Steve's description plus what we found in action reports, not action reports, more of a summary of the action report. And so we know that, but we don't know we need to confirm the actual location because one of the locations had 2 battles. One was Pre-Clock that had 2 battles in it, and the other one at the other end of the extreme up on Route 4 was Abgu, where LZ George is located. That grave, killed in action for the enemy, a total of 609. And we know definitely 1 grave for that and possibly a second one. So I've asked Steve, I know he's on, I think, but I asked Steve to, in an email just recently, to use what I gave him on the link, use one of the maps to pinpoint where when he mentioned to us in call about passing the bodies on the road. That'll help clarify that grave as far as where they went to and where he was at that time.
Right.
Because it just so happens that Route 4, what he was on, goes right through the middle of the base at Pre-Lock. Pre-Lock, they call it PRK, PKREK, I think it is, LOK. And so that's where we are right now. And I sent another email out to Evan and the young lady's name, the photographer, it's escaping me right now, but I think it was Marianne. I'm not 100% sure. They asked them to put together what they can, and any photos of any kind, we can piece it together. If the photos were digital, they may have northeast coordinates depending upon the camera at the time that they use. That'll definitely help pinpoint where they were standing to took the photos. That'll be important. That process worked very well with the grave off the south end of the 101st following 10th, same day. 101st is adjacent to our base. And because of the photographs, we were able to triangulate the location of the grave and have it verified. So, and that grave contains 607, 1 grave. But anyway, not to dwell too much in it, but that's where we are right now with Steve. So it's a matter of just waiting for some additional information. We've got the operations squared away. We know it was Junction City. And so we'll just wait for more information from the people that were there on that trip. It may be more than just Steve and Evan. I don't know yet, but that may surface during the conversation still have.
And just
I believe
to
someone-
let people know, this was a trip to Vietnam that we took in 2018. Evan Mulgrave, a filmmaker, was with us. Marini Staub, a photographer, was also with us, and they captured our return to Vietnam, including Steve's return to a site of a great battle that he was in. The DVD has come out on Blu-ray and it's streaming, and this is relevant because this is photographic evidence or pointers that can help point to where the grave is. Steve, I know, I wasn't there with you when you saw that battlefield. Steve Foreman is on with us, but I'm hoping that through you and Marini and Evan Mulgrave, we'll be able to get a good sense of where that grave was in that area that you visited.
We're getting to first base on both players.
Hold on, Steve, you were saying something?
I remember clearly where it was, where they dug it. If you were facing this big field, this farm land, whatever, it was on the left-hand side of the field, facing like north, and probably 30 feet in.
Okay.
Where the grave was. Also, I can't find my photos from that I had taken back in 18. I don't know what happened to the computer, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to take it up to this computer place that I go to and see if they can pull them up. I've been looking at ever since I got the email from Bob, and I just can't pull them up for somewhere. I go all the way back to 2019, and I can't find photos after that. So,
well, Steve, you only took about 10,000 photos on that trip, I remember. So it'll be quite a treasure trove when you do find them. This is an ongoing search, and I think we're really going to locate this place. And I'm going to go through some of the photos that we have that Marini took and video that Evan shot and see if we could identify the location. I want to keep people up to date on this because I think it's very important. And I'm so grateful to Bob for doing the work that he does. Thank you, Bob.
same here.
One other note here, I am the son of a merchant marine who retired from former atomic fund in 1963, graduated from Kings Point.
How about that? Your father was in the Merchant Marine.
Higher chief engineer. Yes.
How about that's very cool. Bob, thank you for joining us. I'm glad you're out of the hospital. Hey, everybody, have a wonderful rest of your Patriot Day evening. And I hope to see you on Wednesday evening. We'll be here on Wednesday. We'll send you out an email about it. I'll be talking about the origins of the Vietnam War and how it was fought. Very simple. I'm sure we'll have a good conversation. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.